Hello viewers, this is Ashok. Today we are starting a new series is Occupational Safety Health and Working Condition Code 2020 makes ISO 45001 2018 a business requirement. As we have gone through this code, what we found that there is striking similarities between the code and the requirements of ISO 45001 2018. Those who have implemented ISO 45001 2018 effectively, they will be in advantageous position to fulfill the requirement of this code, that is Occupational Safety and Working Condition Code 2020. This code has already received the assent of Honorable President of India in the month of September, and we are expecting that by next year, early next year, this will be implemented throughout the country. Before starting, let's share that we will go through this code vis-a-vis the requirements of ISO 45001 in different series, small series. Let's start with the background of the standard, that is ISO 45001, and the code. Then we will go through some definitions, then requirements of the code, requirements of ISO 45001 2008, one by one. So, background of ISO 45001 2018. On 13th March 2018, ISO first time published a code on occupational health and safety as ISO 45001 2018. The aim of this standard is basically eliminate hazards and minimize health and safety risk, implement effective preventive and protective measures, particularly in the workplace, promote and protect physical and mental health of workers and others. On July 23rd, 2019, Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India introduced in Parliament the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code as Bill number 186. The bill received the assent of Honorable President of India on 28 September 2020. It is expected that by April 2021 it will be implemented and it will be mandatory for all organizations with 10 or more workers, including mines and docks. This is very important for organizations. The objective of the code is basically the code seeks to provide workplace that is free from hazards that may cause injury or diseases, provide a risk-free work environment, and instructing employees on safety protocols. It basically simplifies, amalgamates, and rationalizes 13 labor laws, which were previously enacted. So basically, 13 labor laws have been simplified in one code, which we are discussing basically. So what we find that the review of this code reveals that proactive measures, commitment of the top management, determination of health and safety hazards in workplace, assessment and mitigation of health and safety risk, communication and training, formation and functioning of safety committees, participation of workers, provision of welfare facilities, continuous monitoring and reporting of health and safety status will be required to effectively fulfill the requirements of the code. Compliance to this code basically cannot be ensured by bits and pieces approaches. A strong health and safety management system will be required by the organizations. The 13 codes, 13 laws which have been simplified, amalgamated, and rationalized are basically the Factories Act, the Plantation Labor Act, the Mines Act, the Working Journalist and Other Newspaper Employees Act 1955, the Working Journalists Act 1958, the Motor Transport Workers Act 1961, Bidi and Cigar Workers Act 1966, the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act 1970, the Sales Promotion Employees Act 1976, the Interstate Migrant Workmen Act 1979, the Senior Workers and Cinema Theatre Workers Act 1981, the Dock Workers Safety, Health and Welfare Act 1986, and the Building and Other Construction Workers Regulation of Employment and Condition of Service Act 1996. So what we find that relevant to health and safety in these 13 previously enacted laws, whatever there has been amalgamated and simplified in one code. So now one code will serve the purpose of all 13 codes regarding health and safety and work environment. Out of this, the Factories Act, one of the most important acts, the Contract Labor Acts, very important. Then the Building and Other Construction Workers Act 1996, that is also very important, apart from sector specific other acts. Now, entering into the code, we find 14 chapters are there, 143 clauses are there, and 3 schedules are there. Out of that, regards to health, safety, and working condition, Chapter 3, duties of employer and employees are important. Chapter 4, occupational safety and health. And Chapter 5, health, safety, and working conditions. These 3 chapters we will mainly focus. We will also go through other chapters. Out of that, Chapter 11, Welfare Provisions Act, Chapter 6, and Chapter 11 actually focuses on different sector specific codes, contract labor, migrant workers, audiovisual workers, bidi and cigar workers, mines, factories, plantation, building and other construction workers. So chapter 11 has different parts, and in different parts they have addressed the requirements of sector specific working condition, health and safety conditions. The schedule. The first schedule, list of industries involving hazardous process. Then the second schedule, list of matters which can be dangerous, which can be important or critical for safety and health. And the third schedule is list of notifiable diseases. So the code highlights, this is very important, imparted flexibility to adapt technological changes and dynamic factors. Issue of appointment letter by employer made mandatory. Working journalists now include journalists working in electronic media or in radio. Universally applied to all establishments having 10 or more workers, including mines and docks. Free of cost annual health checkups for employees above a specified age in all or certain class of establishments which will be notified by the government. Provision of interstate migrant workers in establishment in which 10 or more migrant workers are employed. Registration facility for interstate migrant workers. Formation of National Occupational Safety Health Advisory Board to advise central government. Formation of State Occupational Safety and Health Advisory Board to advise state government. Constitution of Safety Committee by the appropriate government in any establishment. Provision for employment for women in all establishment for all types of work. Women can work at night, that is beyond 7 p.m. and before 6 a.m. subject to the conditions and consent. Provision of common license for factory, contract labor and bidi and cigar establishments. Interstate migrant workers may avail benefits of portability of ration and cess in the destination state. introduction of a single all India license for a period of 5 years to engage contract labor, power to court to give a portion of monetary penalties to the workers or legal heirs in case of fatality, power to the central government to regulate general safety and health persons in epidemic or pandemic or disaster, just like now in COVID pandemic situation, provision for social security fund for the welfare of unorganized workers, provision for adjudging the penalties imposed under the code. Now we will go through few definitions. There are so many definitions in the code and also in ISO 45001 standard. Out of those definitions, we will like to touch upon few definitions. Let's go through the code. What is the definition of worker? The definition of worker is any person employed in any establishment to do any manual, unskilled, skilled, technical, operational, clerical, or supervisory work for hire or reward, including working journalist and sales promotion employees. If we look at ISO 45001 2018, the definition of worker is person performing work or work related activities under the control of the organization. And what is the definition of workplace? Place under the control of the organization where a person needs to be or to go for work purposes. Now, what does the code say about the workplace of working journalists and sales promotion employees? They are not working within a particular premises. Their premises are changing. Premises and work conditions are changing. In ISO 45001 includes under the control of the organization, workplace even outside the premises if it is under the control of the organization and workers have to go for work. So we'll have to look into how this requirement is being interpreted by the code when it will be implemented. Let's see contract labor, one of the important definition. Worker employed by the contractor in connection with the work in an establishment includes migrant workers, does not include regular employee of the contractor. If a contractor has employed in his office or in his work a regular employee, that will not come under the definition of contract labor. But remember that migrant workers are also considered as contract worker. Now, by the definition of ISO 45001 2018, worker means person performing work or work related activities under the control of the organization. And it has given a note 3 may include workers employed by the organization of external providers, contractors, individuals, agency personnel. Definition of worker includes contracted workers also in ISO 45001. So both in the code and in ISO 45001 will have to include contracted workers, those who are working within the premises of the organization. They shall be provided with the same protection, whatever treatment we are giving to our permanent employees, same treatment to be provided to the contracted workmen. Now, one of the most important definition, those who have implemented ISO 45001, they are quite familiar with this, that in the code, they have defined hazardous. Hazardous means involving danger or potential danger. It includes process and substance as scheduled or prescribed by the authority, includes environmental hazards also. So the definition of hazardous includes environmental hazards also. Now in ISO 45001 2018, if we look into, we will find the definition is quite simple. Source, it could be anything. It could be process, it could be substance, it could be anything. Source with a potential to injury and ill health. Source includes hazardous situation or circumstances with potential to cause harm or exposure to injury or ill health. So definition of hazard or hazardous, what is identified in the code, is same for the code and the standard. The code includes environmental hazards in the definition. In ISO 45001, it is not so prominent about environmental hazards because it is being addressed by ISO 14001. But now it is becoming legal, so organization will have to think of implementing ISO 14001 also. So the domain of this hazardous definition is quite big in the code. So we'll have to look for processes, substances, everything which can be hazardous to the health and safety of people working within our premises, within the premises of the organization. So today this much. We will come back with the next series, that is part 2, very shortly. For any assistance, you may mail us at support@competencymatters.com or mycompetencymatters@gmail.com or call us at 983130633. WhatsApp 98310 41988. Please do comment and subscribe to receive update. Thank you.